On this episode, we have a bracket challenge to find our favorite Walt Disney World trip. Today is September 15th, 2023, and this is episode 600 of the Main Street Magic Podcast.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts, Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Main Street Magic. I am your host, Jeremy Stein, and I am joined, as always, by my lovely wife, Rhonda.
Hey, guys.
Make sure you check us out on the web at mainstmagic.com, as well as follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at mainstmagic. If you've not done so already, head out to Facebook and search for the Main Street Magic community and ask to join. Then if you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, you're going to get brand new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. If you are planning your trip to Disneyland or Walt Disney World, you did not get your advanced dining reservation that you really wanted, don't worry, because Mouse Dining removes the frustration of booking Disney dining reservations, alerting you when they spot availability for your desired restaurant, date, meal, and time. Visit msmfriends.com to use this free service. Happy 600.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
And happy 600.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like we do this every year now. We celebrate a milestone,
Well,
which works out well because we do 2 episodes a week. That's, a total of 104 episodes every year. So every year we get to celebrate these milestones. I'm going to apologize in advance because we had an awesome listener, or it was in our Facebook group, that suggested what our 600th episode could be. And I had it. Wait, you know what? I might still have it, actually. If I look, nope, I don't. I had your name written down next to the idea, and I think through just moving stuff around and shows around and dates and everything, I lost it. But this comes straight from someone in our Facebook group, the Main Street Magic community. Please reach out and tell me it was you, because I feel so bad I forgot. So to make today interesting, and this is what her suggestion was, is she said, because we love doing these bracket challenges, right?
Yeah.
And she said, why don't you do a bracket challenge of all the trips you've taken?
Yeah.
And
That's a
find
lot
out
of
which is the
trips.
best. Yeah. And so we're like, okay, well, we've been doing the podcast for 6 years. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but that has probably resulted in somewhere around 250 to 300 trips, I bet.
That's a lot of trips.
So maybe less, 200 trips, just say. So I thought, all right, well, we got to narrow that down first of all, right?
Yeah.
So we said, all right, let's do since the reopening after the pandemic. Let's
Sounds
cover
good.
since then.
Which is crazy because now it's been 3
I know.
years.
3.5 years.
That's crazy.
So this is going to span the last 3.5 years. This is going to span back to July of 2020 is
Wow.
these trips. In all, we've done 83 trips, including
Since then.
that one back.
Wow.
And not all directly to Disney World. There were some that were to Universal. They're not going to show up on this list. We're going to do the trips that were truly dedicated to Walt Disney World only.
Correct.
For the most part. There might be like a little, we went to Universal for the day or on the way down or something. But I will say 2 trips. If we were doing all of our trips, there's 2 trips that would be tough to compete with that aren't going to be on our list.
Uh-huh.
I
And
think
what is that?
one is Lake Nona with the 3 girls
Yeah, that was fun.
and doing the Wave Hotel
Mm-hmm.
was so much fun. And then the other would be your and Lacey's birthday last year at Margaritaville
Yeah.
when we went with Rob and Tina and everyone. And I remember that one day we were thinking of going to Typhoon Lagoon and we're like, well, let's just hang by the pool a little, see what, we want to do. And we spent the whole day by the pool playing games. It was one of my favorite trips ever.
Oh.
So
Cool.
we're going to start to get into this. And I'll say right now, this is probably going to go off the rails real quick. What Rhonda and I did is we sat down and we went actually to figure out all the trips. We went through our schedule, our podcast schedule.
Yes.
And we started to piece together and go, all right, well, here's a trip review. Here's a dining review. And there were more than 44 to Disney. We had to try and get a little more selective. And so what we did is as we went through, it was kind of like, oh yeah, I remember that one because of this. So we
Right.
try to do ones that really stood out, you
Right.
know? You're not going to find something where maybe, we went, there's some trips that showed up and I was like, a lot of them were actually festival reviews.
Yes, they were.
And we're like, well, I don't specifically remember that one. I don't
Right.
remember really where we stayed. I don't remember who was there. So those aren't going to make the list. To make it even more difficult on ourselves, I can't really take all 44 of these and put them on a printable spreadsheet for me to easily look at. So we have them in an Excel spreadsheet, all 44, and randomly numbered them 1 to 44, and then sorted in Excel just to put them in numerical order. So they pop all over the place. Like we're trying to think of like, how do we want to seed these? The seeding has nothing to do with the actual trip because it just is completely random, but it helps us with the bracket. So I'm going to have to look at the bracket, then look where it lines up numerically on our spreadsheet. And then we'll talk about that trip. We'll pit them against each other until we get all the way down to our favorite trip since the reopening of Walt Disney World in July of 2020.
Okie dokie.
All right, we're going to start. And I'm not going to even honestly read the seed numbers because it doesn't matter. So they're just for my own edification, I guess. So we are going to start with episode 318. This is aired on, and you guys can go back and listen to these if you never did. This aired on December 29th, 2020. This was a resort review episode of Disney's Contemporary Resort. And it is going to go up against episode 473, which is from June 28th, 2022. And this is a dining review of Space 220 Lounge and Homecoming. Do either of these stick out specifically to you? Do you remember how we ended up at Contemporary?
Both of them do, yeah. We were actually at Coronado.
Yeah.
And they were too booked, so they offered us to move us to Contemporary.
Yeah, to the garden wing.
Yes. And we were like, we're not probably going to try to stay here, so let's go ahead and just do it because of work.
If we had stayed at the Contemporary before, I would have told them no, we wanted to stay at Coronado.
I probably,
That's the
from
sad
this review, I probably would have too. Because I remember, like, you're so tall, we looked like we were on a cruise ship, for one.
That room felt very cruisy.
For two, in the bathroom, I was squishing, slosh, on the, like,
the bottom. Like, you could hear the water had gotten underneath it, and the floor would actually, like, move as you stepped on it.
Crazy.
It was a great big room. I remember we went to Universal actually on the way down that Friday, and there are two other things I'll just say before we get all the way into the episode. One, this episode's going to add zero value probably to planning your Walt Disney World trip. I'll just throw that out there. This one hopefully will be entertaining, and maybe along the way you'll learn a thing or two. We'll see. And then I forget what my number 2 was going to be that I was going to say. Oh, you'll find out how weird my brain is. Like that I will pick apart teeny little things that most people wouldn't remember. I remember exiting Universal that day at Islands of Adventure. And Kaylin and I went we were in the Seuss landing area, and Kaylin and I went in and got our matching Grinch pajamas, Christmas pajamas, and we got Taco a little sweater that matched as well. And I remember that specifically. And I think we just hung at the resort pretty much all weekend. This was in 2020, so the girls still had tickets. So maybe we went to Magic Kingdom Saturday or something. But I just vividly remember the Christmas pajamas and being in that room, which was a nice big room.
Oh, yeah. Very
it was just
big.
old as could all get
It
out.
was.
So this is going up against this Space 220 and Homecoming. And this was the Homecoming trip. We were there. We did a brunch with Lucy and Caleb. And I believe we were staying at the Wyndham over at Disney Springs.
Okay.
And walked down that morning.
Probably.
And it was when Homecoming made a believer of me. You remember the pickles?
So good. Yes. They were pickles.
See, you don't have the memory that I do you?
They're pickles.
Right.
But
do you remember our interaction with our waitress and everything? And she had me eat one.
Yeah.
And they weren't really truly pickles.
Okay. Go ahead, though.
Those are more of those marinated cucumber, the ones that they had on the side. But I didn't care for it. So which of these trips do you think
I'm
would
going to say
win?
Space 220.
I agree as well. The Space 220 lounge, and then eating at Homecoming with Lucy and Caleb. We got the Moonshine Flight and all, and you got shrimp and grits. You finally had there. All right, so that one's going to move on, and then we'll go from there. All right, so next is going to be a trip. This was episode 579. This is very recent, and yes, it did make the list. This was July 4th, 2023. Our trip review of car camping at Disney's Fort Wilderness, playing bus roulette, and we did a bunch more dining that was completely unexpected.
Yeah.
So
cool.
What do you think of this trip? This was literally one day and one night is all that we did. And we came home the next morning. Actually, no, we went and ate the next morning.
Yeah. Because
which one was that? Because we ate at Olivia's Cafe.
We ate at
dinner.
Olivia Cafe that night. And then where did we go the next morning?
I'm trying to remember.
We
went to a park. I think we went to Magic Kingdom because we wanted to do Tron, and that was the day I think that we ended up at Tony's.
Kingdom. Yes.
Yeah, we ended up at Tony's.
Okay, hang on, let me think. Yep.
Yeah. So that was super fun. That's a fun episode to go listen to if you haven't already. It's not very old, but I mean, we literally camped in our car. We bought all the stuff for it, fitted mattress, and we had a fan inside, and it was awesome. We're already trying to figure out when we can do it again.
100%.
Like, I want to go. There's the other weekend I was just randomly looking, and it was $58 for a pop-up or tent site, which is what we would use.
Yes.
And so we're actively looking at when we can go back, and we'd like to try 2 nights and see if we can make it. All right, so that trip is going up against episode 391 from 9/14, my birthday, 2021.
Yeah.
And this was a trip review. We did Remy's AP preview. We did a poolside cabana and a fireworks cruise. This was Kat, Michael, Jossie, Nick. Kiki came out like that. I can tell you right now, this is good. This is going to go far.
Yeah.
Unless it really just randomly gets up against something else. This is one of my top 5 trips of all time, I think.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
This was really fun with everybody, and just the firework cruise. It was just great.
It was absolutely perfect. In addition to that, we also was our first time at Beer Garden.
Oh, yeah.
Which at that time I did not love.
Correct.
Liked it a lot better when we went back. And we did Hollywood Brown Derby that time as well.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, that trip was just so freaking good. All right, we'll just go ahead and move on to the next one. This is going to be episode number 525 and 526, trip reviews, part 1 and 2 of Spending Christmas at Walt Disney World from December 30th of 2022. If we had seeded these, this would be number 1.
Yeah.
This is a juggernaut, and what stinks is it's about to go up against the one we just talked about. So this is why we randomly did them. You know,
wow.
I mean, we'll just tell you right now what it's going up against. It's going up against episode number 397 from October 5th, 2021. Ooh, this was Walt Disney World's Most Magical Celebration, part 1 and 2. So this was the 50th anniversary celebration. It's just dumb that these two would have to go against each other. But
well, I'm going to say Christmas.
Winner. I'm going to say Christmas, and I'm sure we'll get into it more. The Most Magical Celebration, though, I mean, that was incredible. We stayed at Coronado Springs.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that specifically. I think we were there 3 nights. It was the official opening of Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. It was the 50th celebration. We were in Magic Kingdom on the 50th. That's the story we tell. Remember, Kaylin came out to meet us and almost passed out from the heat.
Yeah.
And we had to get her inside the candy shop there on Main Street and the confectionery and get her some water.
Because we saw that earlier and the day before it even really opened.
Yeah. I mean, that was an incredible trip, and being there on the 50th, I can remember going through Big Top souvenirs.
Yep.
You know, being a part of that insanity that was the Starbucks 50th Cup.
Oh my Lord!
And we were probably in the background or around that video that like went viral of the people fighting over them because we were right by it.
Yeah,
like that trip was good, but Christmas.
Yeah, with the kids just the 4 of us, which we have far and few between anymore.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
It is. And it's, I mean, that's where I think, too, a lot of these, when we go through them, there's going to be a lot of that nostalgia when it was our family of 4 going to Disney World. You know, we're getting to go this weekend. We're doing Horror Nights and all tonight by the time this episode comes out.
But it won't be just
the 4 of us.
It'll be so many people.
And to be honest, if we went right now and asked the girls, hey, would you like to go on a Universal trip, just the 4 of us? They'd be like, you mean like nobody else is coming?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we're doing
They'd be like,
possibly for Thanksgiving at Universal.
Yeah.
And it may just be the 4 of us. There's still maybe some other plans in the air, but Christmas easily moves on for that one.
Yes.
And just so you know, if you're trying to keep track, which I wouldn't recommend, these are technically play-in games because 44 is such a weird number for a bracket, but that's how we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next, we are going to go to episode 367. And this was the dining review of the Boathouse Brunch back in June of 2021. And this also includes episode 368, which was our trip review of renting an RV from Cruise America to go to Fort Wilderness.
Oh, yeah.
This was Father's Day weekend.
This was amazing.
Yeah, your brother and his family came and camped right next to us. Athena came out and we hung out and we did scavenger hunting. It was the first time we had done the scavenger hunts. And then, Yeah, Father's Day morning, we went with your brother and everybody and did Boathouse for brunch for the first time.
So good.
It was just an absolutely wonderful
then we
trip.
stayed another night.
Yeah, we did.
Because it's June, and we decided to come home Monday.
Yeah, so we came home Monday morning, so I think we did Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just it was such a good trip. That Cruise America, while we wouldn't do that again, we're going to do camper rental adventures every time.
100%.
It was a neat experience.
It was. The girls enjoyed it. It was poor Lacey with her anxiety. Like, we were driving, I'll never forget that too, because we were driving down and she just worked herself up so much that she ended up being sick.
Yeah.
And then Kaylin felt awful, and it was crazy. And but then once we got the truck,
the RV,
and started going, everything changed. Praise God.
Yeah.
Because it was very scary. I was like, is this going to happen?
Yeah. It was a period right in there when, even though we were going to Disney World, which she was very, very familiar with, we weren't just going directly there like we normally do. We were going to a place we had never been. And that's what set her off. But still, it was during a period of time where we weren't always sure, is she sick or is she making herself sick? You know what I mean? So it was strange, but that was so fun other than driving that thing on I-4. That was the only part of the whole trip that I didn't enjoy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was super cool. Like driving the RV though. And like, and then it was, especially because we, hadn't had our pop-up camper in a couple years at this point. 2 years maybe at this point, I think it was. And
it was just good to get back to camping like
and
that.
as much as I don't want to set everything up myself, that's why we love camper rental adventures. It was neat. It was kind of like, oh, I remember this with the pop-up. We got to plug in the water and the sewage and check the electric, and there's a pilot light for the oven, and it was super duper cool.
It was.
I didn't even say who that's going up against yet, did I? All right, Red is going up against. This is going to be okay. This will be an interesting one because this was only slightly Disney, but. This was from March 10th of 2023, episode 546 is our trip review.
This is right before we shut down.
No, this is 2023.
2023.
Yeah, 2023.
Sorry.
We did Mardi Gras at Universal, we did the Flower and Garden Festival, and then we stayed at the Sheraton Vistana Resort. Why this one is making the list, and it's so cool, is because this was Lacey's dance competition weekend. And we did go to Hollywood Studios with her on that Sunday.
Yeah.
But if you remember, you and I snuck off after she danced.
Yes.
And the team was going to go back to the hotel, and we went over to do Flower and Garden Festival.
Right.
And we hit Mardi Gras on the way down because Lacey brought her friend, and we went to Universal and all that. Yeah. What about that weekend? I mean, I don't think it's going to beat the camping weekend.
It's not. It was a good weekend.
Yeah.
It was fun. That dance competition was just so, it was such a proud parent moment. For one, because she had come so far out of her shell, and
I know
with her anxiety and moving on and forward, and then she actually tried out for something at the dance competition that was sidelined, where she literally just had to go out in front of people and try to just make up a dance or something. And I was like, oh my goodness.
It's amazing.
She unfortunately didn't win, which actually worked out for the good, because then she would have had to go back Sunday, and we were going to Hollywood Studios Sunday.
Yeah, they got a ticket.
And then we drove home that night.
Yep. Yeah, they got a ticket one day in a park, and so her friend and we met up with friends and some of the other dancers at the park and hung out with them some, and it was neat to have our kid back in a Disney park.
Yeah, it was.
At that point, because it had been so long.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd gone for Christmas, but they'd, had been pass holders. It'd been now 2 years or something, I feel like, at this point.
And she was excited.
Yeah, she really was. That was the coolest part, is that she was excited to go, you know? And that's one of the things that, we burnt our kids out so bad on Disney World, that it is neat that, like, they were excited for Christmas. She was excited to go this time. So when we get back there next year for Christmas, hopefully they'll be excited to go. But we are going to move on with the Fort Wilderness Cruise America Father's Day weekend, right?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, next, this is going to be a very long episode, by the way, is episode 294. This is from July 14th, 2020, and episode 296, which is from July 28th, 2020, and this was all the reopening of Walt Disney World after the pandemic. That was amazing. I mean, it was absolutely amazing.
Okay.
To be back
Yeah.
after all those months.
Yeah, that's true.
And while I'll never wish this upon the world again,
Yeah.
but they're fond memories that seem like another lifetime.
Yes. That is 1,000% true.
Like, I mean, standing in the middle of just say Frontierland and doing a 360 turn and seeing no other guest.
That was crazy.
You know, having Big Thunder Mountain entirely to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, watching after every stop and before every new load, them going through and spraying down and sanitizing the carts. And, you know, they did full sanitation like once an hour. And it took every ride down for like 15 minutes.
Right.
And, you know, just all that, like, how is that even this lifetime?
I know. And the you know, parking, everything was distant. It was.
Yeah, even parking. They
was
were
really
parking
crazy.
every other spot. And then they would come back, though, and fill in those ones.
Mm-hmm.
So
well,
it was
I think that got later on.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't hardly anybody going.
Yeah.
Which was also kind of amazing.
Yeah, it was the strangest time ever, obviously. I mean, for
Mm-hmm.
everyone, no matter where you were, not necessarily just, you know, going to Disney and stuff, but that was nuts. And it was that way for quite some time. You know, I mean, it really was. Just all of it was super duper interesting. Like, I'll never forget, and I thought this was just one of those things that'll stick in my mind forever, is going to Three Bridges. And this wasn't this exact trip. This was, I think, within the months following. And they brought you a plate for your mask.
Yeah,
so that you didn't have to put it on the table.
That was crazy. Yeah.
You know, like that's just like, that's a time that, I hope we never see again.
I do.
So that is going to go up against, this is episode 443. This is from March 15th of 2022. This is a Disney Springs Resort review, the Wyndham Lake Buena Vista. Do you remember this trip specifically?
I think so, because wasn't this when we first got Gideon's too?
It may have been. It might have been that as well. But this was just the four of us. And we went down for the 2 nights.
Mm-hmm.
We had the poolside cabana. Remember you and I interviewed Jay, the general manager there.
That was super cool. That might have been because we were right there, and it is a wonderful, great little walking distance. And I think we went almost every day to Disney Springs.
We did, because to be honest, I believe this is after the girls gave up their passes.
Yeah.
They gave up their passes in February of 21 or 22. So yeah, I don't think they had passes, so we wouldn't have done parks.
This might not have been the first time. I think I got Gideon's back when we reopened, because there wasn't many.
Oh yeah, that might have been. So which of these two do you think? Reopening? I mean, that's
yeah, I guess the reopening.
Okay, I think so too. That was incredible. I mean, and it's like, it's incredible in the worst way.
Yeah.
That's what's so nuts. Again, you don't want this to ever happen
right.
again, but we're very fortunate and lucky that we can look back on most of that period with a lot of great memories.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, I even think of the memories of you
being
bought
at
that.
Home
being at home. I mean, you bought that freaking kiddie pool on Amazon.
Yeah.
That Lacey would go out and sit in and play.
Yeah.
And you and I would set up our chairs out back. And I remember the Disney released the Dole Whip recipe.
Mm-hmm.
We made it.
We
and
made
then
so
added
much
some
food.
rum to it.
Yep.
We made so much food every night. We were like doing copycat recipes from Disney every night. Like, yeah, that whole period. And every morning we went for a walk.
Yep.
And our neighborhood started this thing where you would go bear hunting on your morning walk. And so people would take stuffed bears or whatever and put them up in their windows. And Rhonda and I would count
colored bears or whatever.
Yeah. Or go ahead and color one or whatever. And then leading up to Easter, did Easter egg hunt, and everybody put eggs in their window.
Yep.
And
because we did that.
Yeah, it was for being the worst time ever. We have a lot of wonderful memories that come out of it.
Yep.
And so that part's super duper cool. But we're gonna go ahead and move on with the reopening on that one. All right, we are going to continue on here in episode 487 from August 16th, 2022, and this was the event review of Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. And also episode 488 from August 19th of 2022, which included Coronado Springs Resort Deluxe Suite with Kronos Club access. So this is the next one on the list.
Yeah, this one. Yes, this one was so amazing. We went with Ashley and Karen and their daughter Zoe, and it was so fun. We all dressed up. We Disney bounded as the Tinkerbell fairies.
I was a pirate because I had a pirate.
Right.
Costume.
It was fantastic because we stayed at Coronado, of course, and this is all 4 of our favorite hotel.
Yeah.
And we, were had access to Kronos Club and being in the tower was just amazing.
Yeah.
It was just so much fun. Like, we love Kronos Club, and we just spent so much time in there. And then the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party, it poured rain where we never got the entire stage show.
Mm-hmm.
We did not get...
We got the second parade.
First
one was canceled. We got second parade.
Which was crazy because everybody was wanting to see it. So then I could hardly see it, and me and Zoe. And then I thought there was one more thing that we got cut short. Was it the...
It may have been the fireworks. Yeah, I think there weren't as many. It was something. It was just something.
3 things.
Which happens.
Yeah.
It all happens.
It
and
does.
we just walked out going, oh well, that stinks. But we were spending the next morning in Kronos Club and just hanging out. And one of my favorite memories ever is us just hanging in Kronos Club after everybody's left breakfast.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there and
Playing
Aaron was there
games,
and we're playing games and we're having drinks and it was the best freaking time.
Yeah, it was.
But we were just telling Aaron about our night and he said, you know what? It doesn't hurt to just go say something.
Yep.
To guest
Tell
services.
him your experience.
Yeah. Tell him about your experience. He's like, and that's all you can do.
Yep.
We're like, okay. Well, at the same time, Ashley and Karen had let their APs lapse on purpose. And after going to the Halloween party, they were like, oh, we miss it.
Mm-hmm.
But they were outside of their renewal window. So Aaron was basically also like, hey, just ask.
Right.
Will they let you renew?
Right.
Because passes were not available at this time.
Correct.
New ones. So we went to Magic Kingdom. Mary Catherine was wonderful. And not only did they get to renew their APs outside the renewal window, we also were all comped another night for Not So Scary.
And it was amazing.
Yeah. And again, we didn't go in with like Rhonda said, we didn't go in complaining or anything. We just went in and just said, we'd like to tell you about our experience.
Right.
And so it was amazing. All right. That, though, is going to go up against, this is from May 20th of 2022, episode 462. This was a trip review of Pop Century, Banana Cabana, CityWorks, Bar Riva, and Spice Road Table. I believe this is the Spice Road Table that we went with Steve and Tony and like, remember that night?
That was
a super fun
It was.
trip.
That was a lot of fun. And then CityWorks, wasn't that with Kat and Michael?
Did we sit? Oh, yeah, we sat out at the bar. I think that's from when we sat out at the bar because this is right around her birthday. So they were probably there for her birthday trip.
Yeah.
They go every year. So, yeah, that might have been when we sat out at the bar area there outside.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I mean, you're not going to beat the other one, the Not So Scary trip in Coronado. That's one's just going to have to move on.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry to our friends that were on the other trip with us. That's my bad. All right, next, let's see what trip is coming up. This is episode 355. This is from May 11th, 2021. A trip report, Three Bridges menu updates, Velocicoaster soft opening, Festival of the Lion King, and more. Do you remember this trip?
Yeah, that was crazy. Well,
Yeah.
because things were starting to also come back, because this was 2021.
Yeah, but this was 10 months after reopening. So
right.
It's not like, the reopening is everything's open. Let's go.
Oh, correct.
There's still restaurants and shows, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
And it was so fun, like going down and stopping at Universal because we have passes and they were soft opening the Velocicoaster.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And this was a weekend we spent with Rob and Tina.
Yep.
We went and we were, again, I remember this. We were in line for Everest.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the standby line for Everest and I'm scrolling through social media and I see that Festival of Lion King was reopening that day.
Yep.
The show. And
so
so we ran over there and we got into the show and just being back and seeing that show, I remember was like super emotional. You hadn't seen it in so long and
There's no monkeys though.
I know there were not at that time.
Yep.
It was just, that was like just a really, really great trip. But this is going up against another Rob and Tina weekend. This is episode 575 and 576 from this past June 20th, 2023 and June 23rd. And this was Father's Day weekend at Caribbean Beach.
I'm going to pick this one.
I am too.
We laughed so much.
Oh my gosh.
And it was so funny because we took them back to Disney. And I remember Rob being like, did you take us to every expensive restaurant? And we were like,
we did Space 220. And the same day we did Space 220 at the bar and Topolino's at the bar.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Oh, that was so good. And I ate the Bolognese No.
No, it's the rigatoni.
Rigatoni
Yeah.
on the way.
Chicken rigatoni. Yep.
Oh.
And we were all just laughing at you because you were just scarfing it out of the box, walking back to the resort. Yeah, we got to show them Bar Riva.
So good.
We did Guardians twice that day because when I
Mhm.
woke up that morning and there was a glitch and I didn't get the virtual queue.
Yep.
So I immediately bought Lightning Lane.
And then we got a virtual queue at
Yeah.
1 p.m.
That was
And
the bathroom glitch. That's when I was in the bathroom
yeah.
and the Wi-Fi, I think, messed me up. Yeah, and then we were standing waiting for 220 to get in. That was such a fun trip.
So great.
That was awesome. All right, we are going to move on to our next trip. This is episode 521 and 522. This is from December of 2022, and this is a trip review. Both of these episodes cover the Hollywood Brown Derby Lounge, staying at the Wyndham Garden Lake Buena Vista, seeing Blue October at House of Blues, Garden Grill, and the Candlelight Processional with Josh Gad, and this was pizza when we really truly discovered Pizza Ponte,
So good.
which was
This was a great
this was an
trip.
amazing trip.
Yeah.
Front row for Josh Gad. Garden Grill was our first time ever there.
Mm-hmm.
With April and her daughter, we had such a good
Yes.
time. And then,
That was
I mean,
fun.
shoot, you can just go back to, of course, that was I think that was 2022. No, this was our second time seeing Blue October, I believe. Or this might have been our first time. I can't remember. Seeing them at House of Blues. We'd always seen them at
2022?
Epcot.
No, because we saw them at 2020.
That was
we
October
had
when we
to
saw
have-
with Jody.
Yes,
Yes.
because
That's right.
we had to wear our masks unless
That's
we were
right.
drinking.
Yeah. Unless you were actively
constantly,
drinking or
basically.
eating, which everybody in there was just constantly drinking then at that point.
Right.
Because, nobody wore any.
Yeah, nobody wore 'em.
That trip was awesome. It is going to go up though against. Ooh, this was the anniversary trip.
Mhm.
And we stayed at Old Key West. We stayed at Old Key West.
Okay.
This is episode 351 and 352, and this is from April of 2021. Stayed at Old Key West. We did Cinderella's Royal Table, and we did our first ever Dapper Day, where we bound as Eric and Ariel.
Yep.
And I'll never forget waking up on, I think it was that Saturday morning, and you looked at me and you were like, "Do you want to build a lightsaber? Not a snowman." She was like, "Do you want to build a saber?" And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "Let's go to
Walk up.
Savi's, walk up, and
Right.
let's see if we can get a."
Because I
get
was
you in.
trying to before, I believe. And so this again was 2021. We did have to wear our masks. I believe at this point they were like on the bus,
Mm-hmm.
inside.
Yeah, it might
because
not have been outside
With
anymore. or
Dapper
something.
Day, I had a
Mhm.
mask that looked like mermaid.
Yeah.
So yeah, and
It
yeah,
was
we went
so
up
fun.
and we got on the walk up list. It was not a problem.
Yeah,
That was really cool.
that this was all, and Savi's workshop was
Cinderella's
just
Ro-
amazing,
yeah,
and Royal
Cinderella's
Table was
Royal Table.
incredible,
So good.
and we were dressed for the part, which was so cool. And yeah, I remember I'm not a giant Star Wars nerd fan.
Right.
Like I enjoy Star Wars. I like the movies, and we'll eventually catch up on some things like Ahsoka and all. We haven't even started it yet, but I like Star Wars. But this
Right.
experience, I don't care if you've never even seen a Star Wars. This experience was absolutely amazing, and I loved it.
Good.
And I remember at the end when you were done building, they had everybody raise them in the air. Like it was emotional.
Did you
It
cry?
was so cool. No, but it was emotional. Like you could feel it. But
Which one's moving
man,
on?
yeah, but that's going up against which one was that then? It was going up against, I already forgot. Yeah, the
You already forgot.
yeah, that
Well,
one, gosh,
then-
that was a tough one. I'm gonna go I think
That
I'm gonna
is.
go
This
with
is a very tough one.
I think I would personally go with the Father's Day trip in Savi's workshop and all.
Really?
I think so.
Okay. I almost was picking the other one because too, I just we always buy stuff Blue October, but I remember I think this was the long sleeve because it was December.
Mm-hmm.
So it was colder.
Yeah. I'm good with either one, to be honest. Whichever one you want to pick, I'm okay advancing it into the next one.
I don't
So is it
know. Where's the coin?
do you want me to flip the coin? All right. So we'll go
Do you
with
actually have a coin?
yeah, I keep one in here now. So we'll go with heads.
Okay.
Heads will be the Blue October trip, we'll just call it. And then tails will be that Father's Day trip, and that I barely flipped it at all. And I told you this episode was going to be weird, guys. It is tails. So we are going to go with the Father's Day weekend, Savi's workshop.
Okay.
All
I'm not mad at
yeah.
it.
all that stuff. No, I'm sorry, anniversary trip. I kept saying Father's Day even. It was the anniversary trip.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next up, we're barely through this, guys, so I hope you're in for the long haul. Next up is...
Well, I feel like once we get down to the other ones, we'll be able to...
Yeah, it'll go a lot quicker. Yeah,
We're
once we get through this.
explaining everything.
Yeah. All right, next up is episode 344. This is from April of 2021, and this is a resort review from Disney's Art of Animation. But what makes this one so very special?
Well, we got upgraded to a Cars suite, correct? And because that sleeps 6, and there's only 4 of us, Kat actually came down last minute, which was amazing.
We were joking. We were there from Friday to Sunday, I believe it was, and we were like joke on Friday on the way down. We're like, because we could see in My Disney Experience app that we had gotten upgraded, and so we were like, I thought we were joking with her, going, "Hey, you should just come down." Next thing we know, she's like, "Yep, I got a flight first thing in the morning," and she flew down and stayed the night. And this was one of my favorite nights. We were at Banana Cabana. And we hung out all day, whatever. We're at Banana Cabana.
Y'all did a lot of laughing at me.
Yeah, we were laughing at Rhonda a lot. She was done. Like, she was just done for the day, evening. And we had Kaylin with us. And Lacey was back at the resort, I think. And Rhonda was like, I'm going back to the resort. And we were like, all right, see ya. Like, we're going to go over to Riviera. And so Kat and Kaylin and I went over to Riviera. And we went up and we sat in the lobby and just people watched.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the name of the little coffee bar right in there, but we went and got espresso martinis right before they were closing down, served by a wonderful bartender who we months later realized was Ken.
That's cool.
Who we know down at Bar Riva.
Yeah.
He moved down there, and we met Darby, who was working at Riviera. I think she might still be there. And like, it was just so much fun. And then we got back to the room, and Rhonda was still up, and we all sat on our bed in the one bedroom portion. And Lacey was asleep, I think, at that point, and Kaylin was there, and we just laughed. Like, there's some inside jokes we're not going to share on air, because then they wouldn't be inside jokes. But yeah, I know for sure if Kat's listening, she's probably laughing right now. And it was just an absolutely amazing time. That, though, is going to go up against episode 565 from this past May, and this was a dining review of Le Cellier.
Oh,
it was a Thursday night. Remember where we stayed?
I don't.
Coronado.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, where did we go? Because we were going to just do a staycation.
Yeah, so
then we were like,
here's what happened.
To eat more.
Yeah, here's what happened is we were, for our anniversary this past year, we were going to go for one night. We're just going to go on the night of our anniversary. It was a Saturday, and we had booked All-Star Movies because it was cheap, honestly. And we were traveling a lot during this time. So I was like, all right, we're going to do something cheap. We'll save our money for a wonderful dinner and experiences to celebrate our anniversary. So I was talking with Chuck of Main Street Magic Travel. Go out, get your free quote, mainstreetmagictravel.com. And he was like, hey, there's this Delta hotel that is right there kind of at the entrance to Disney Springs on that side, that north side. And he's like, you could stay there for 2 nights for the same price as your one night. Basically, you're paying at All-Star. And I was like, okay, let's do that. So we got 2 nights out of it. So what I did is I moved that All-Star reservation, or should I say Chuck moved that All-Star reservation to a random Thursday night that at Coronado, and it was literally the same price. Basically, I think it was like $5-10 more for you and I to go down, and this would be one of those rare trips where it was just the 2 of us.
Yes, very rare, and that was fun. Le Cellier.
Yeah, before they got rid of the beef fat candle, no longer on the menu.
But I guess I will have to say, if we're beating out Kat's trip,
no, there's no chance it beats out that trip. But this was a one-night trip you and I went on, and we literally were like, it's going to be a staycation. But a couple weeks earlier, I was just looking in the app, and I was like, oh, Le Cellier is available for like noon, right when they open, the time that we're here. Let's just do that.
Because then we rode Guardians.
Yeah, we rode Guardians and nothing else.
Went to
lunch. We literally went,
Then went to the hotel just to hang out.
Went to the pool and hung out, and we just had an absolutely wonderful evening. And then the next day is when we got up, and I secured Tron. And we were called for it while we were still trying to get out of the room.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
So that was a super fun trip, but it's not beating that trip with Kat and a certain doctor. All right, next we're going to move on. And this is going to be a really good one, episode 415. If you've not listened to this, go back. This is from December of 2021. This is a trip review of our Thanksgiving at Fort Wilderness Resort
God,
with
that
your
was
entire
amazing.
family.
Yes. That was super cool.
How was
I
that
mean,
already
for
2
one,
years ago?
I know. For one, because it was 2 years ago. And again, 2021, it was still like, I think there were still masks and stuff
I
going
believe
on.
still some indoor and buses.
But-
it might have just been on transportation or something.
Because we did go over to Disney Springs. But what was really cool, though, is none of my family had tickets, and we
Mhm.
didn't. I mean, we did Steakhouse 71, but we didn't do like in the parks and stuff. And it was, I think you and I went over there Thanksgiving morning because we had a
Yes,
tent
we
and
did.
we were on my parents'
Yeah.
site.
Yep, we camped in the tent
then-
with the girls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we went over to Magic Kingdom one morning on Thanksgiving morning because
Yep.
it was just like, I want to step foot in Magic Kingdom on
Yep.
Thanksgiving.
Because we still, of course, had our passes.
Yes, we did. That was a
It was
super
a
fun
lot
trip.
of fun.
We cooked an entire
Thanksgiving
legit
meal.
Thanksgiving
Yeah.
meal, because your brother and sister-in-law were there. They had their camper, so they prepared some dishes. Your mom and dad had their camper with the kitchen. They prepared some. And then I brought my Big Easy charbroil oilless fryer, and I fried a turkey right there on
So
site.
cool.
And we all went down to your brother and sister-in-law's site and ate at the picnic table and said everything. It was really,
Yeah.
really good trip. But let's see who it goes up against. It is going up against, this is going to be a tough one to beat, to be honest. This is just this past year in April, episode 557 and 558. This included, on the way down, Rhonda and I actually rode the Mardi Gras float at Universal, and we stayed at the Holiday Inn and Suites across from Universal, which was also the hotel we stayed at, 19 years ago, when it was kind of the day,
It was
night, I'd say we really fell in love with each other.
It was attached to the TGI Fridays.
Yeah,
correct?
TGI
Yep,
Fridays. And it was neat to go walk back in there.
Yep. It was.
And
it was
then,
weird.
but from there, we moved over to Saratoga Springs in the 2-bedroom with everybody. And that weekend we did, we did the Garden Rocks Beer Garden Dining Package to go see Blue October that evening, and had everybody with us. Even Mark and Figgy came out for
Yes.
that. We ate at Trails Inn for one of their final breakfasts before they
Yes.
shut down the restaurant and reopened as is. And then on the way out, we did Boma breakfast for the first
Chuck
time.
and Amy. Yep.
Yeah, and Rachel.
And yeah, Rachel. That's right.
That
'Cause
trip
we
was
did-
that trip
yeah,
was so
'cause
much fun.
Trails Inn was
Yeah.
Main Street Travel and Chuck and Amy and
No, they skipped out on that one, I believe. That
That's
was
in-
there was
There's
so
so
much
many
dining
people.
that weekend that I can't. Yeah,
I know.
Like I can't
there was
remember
so much
specifically.
dining.
But it was. I definitely remember Beer Garden though, and I remember going, all right, we're gonna go back to Beer Garden. But it was the most perfect.
It was good.
I knew it was
and
gonna be
you-
a perfect
mhm.
location for a big group.
Yep, and you like.
But I liked the food this time.
Yep.
I really and truly did, and I would go back, and I still think it's one of the best spots. Another one's going to come up here, I know, in a review. So, oh man, so which one would you pick between those two? That's a very, very tough one because we're going between what was it?
The Universal.
Yeah, the Thanksgiving trip or this
Oh
trip.
no, this
This was the Thanksgiving trip or
Thanksgiving.
this trip with everybody.
I'm gonna have to pick my family.
Thanksgiving?
over. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's fair. That was an amazing trip. Okay, next. This will be cool. We're getting into some of the final ones, but you're going to still hear some new trips coming up because these are still playing games. Believe it or not, folks. All right, so next up is episode 331. This is from February of 2021. This was an update on Sangria University where we had a huge group. We basically had a private group
Oh yeah.
in tasting, which included children.
Yep.
And this was super fun.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't remember anything else about the weekend specifically. But I know like Eric and Lindsay were there.
Yeah.
Kat and Michael were there. Which is a hilarious story. We'll tell it another
Poor
time.
Michael.
But yeah, I mean, it was amazing. And they like really rolled out the red carpet for us for that
Yeah.
one. And yeah, and the kids did like Lemonade University, and they even allowed Michael and Kat to trade in for liqueurs and stuff, like
Mhm.
to do something slightly different. But that was a good trip. That being the only thing I remember of it, I know it was a great trip because of all the people we were with.
Yeah.
So
It
and
was
I think it was
fantastic.
that night. Yeah, this was a fun. I think it was that same night that we got to see Caleb run on the bridges from 3 Bridges, and like Forrest Gump. It was really good. No, it's speed walking is what he does, but it's at the pace of running.
Oh yeah.
He's a magnificent speed walker. We've seen it several times, and that was the first time we had saw it. That trip is going to go up against. This will be from July of 2021, and this included the fireworks coming back. They had not been back since the pandemic, and also we did Sebastian's Bistro with Lucy and Caleb. Their all new family style dinner after reopening. Yeah. Which, upon hearing about first, we were extremely disappointed because we loved Sebastian's the way it was. And we were blown away.
Yeah, this was.
And it's still one of the best values on property. I can't remember how much it is right now, but it's like $30 or something.
And we were staying at Caribbean, correct?
Oh, gosh. I honestly don't remember where we stayed for that trip.
I feel like we did.
We might have. I remember I specifically remember us waiting for the fireworks. It was the second night they were back. Mm-hmm. But the first night, due to weather, Tink didn't fly.
Yes.
So we got to be the first to see Tink fly again.
It was amazing.
Which was just awesome.
Yes.
So, okay. That's a pretty good one. Man, I don't know about I'm trying to think of those two. That Sangria University was so fun. And again, we have laughs from that. Just Michael being Michael that we will laugh at forever. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm going to have to pick that one. Do you agree?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, awesome. All right. You're going to now start to hear some repeat trips.
Which is good.
Right, which are going up against some still new trips for us. And we are going to start with episode 435. This is from February 2022. We rented a DVC at Boardwalk. We did Scats Cat Club. We also was when we did Drawn to Life. We did Haleo, Captain Cook's. I believe that was the Captain Cook's night that we got stranded. When we met up with everybody and went there, the Uber, remember?
Oh, yes, we did. That was awful.
Yeah. Yeah. That was
it was an hour after everybody left.
It was horrible, but
it was a memory.
The rest of that weekend was fabulous. It was with a ton of different people.
Yeah.
You know, we got to see Drawn to Life. Afterwards, we met Chuck and Allie at Haleo and had dinner. That was the birth of Main Street Magic Travel.
Yes.
Like that was really our first meeting.
Aww,
you know, so that was a really, really good trip. And Drawn to Life was so good. Highly recommend you go see it. All right, that is going up against, we're going to hear from this one again. This was the Space 220 Lounge and Homecoming one from episode 473. So then that was the
I'm going to have to
brunch.
go.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go with the other one. Right? Don't you agree?
Yep.
Okay.
100%.
All right. That's fair. All right. These are going to be two new ones you're going to hear. This is, this one was really, really good. This is, I believe, this is from September of 2022. And for some reason I lost the episode number, but this is a review of the Swan Food and Wine Festival, bar hopping. And then we did, I don't know what else we did. We did a ton of stuff, apparently.
Yeah, we did. We stayed at the Swan with Lucy and Caleb.
That's right.
And then we ended up, of course, we always end up at Abracadabra Bar with them. Yep. We went to Big River Grill because we were watching some soccer.
That's right. We got nachos at Big River Grill.
So
we were watching
fun.
Florida Gators soccer because Lucy and Caleb love that.
Yep.
And then I remember we ended the trip. We went to Tangerine, the poolside bar over at Swan Reserve, and met up with Kat and Michael because they were flying out that day, I think it was. And then Jessica and Landon from Vacation Grocery Delivery came out and met us. And you, Lucy, and Caleb left to go over to Rose and Crown, I believe it was, to go to Epcot. And we were hanging around a little bit longer because they had just gotten there. But then we walked. You guys drove or something over there, or Ubered over there.
Yeah.
And then Jessica, Landon, and I walked. And this was around the time I was having some foot issues. And because the following weekend was going to be Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah.
When I had to have a wheelchair and get pushed through the house, some of the houses, and Rob's just taking out ankles left and right. It was a whole other trip. But this was a really fun trip.
Yeah,
I do remember this one. So that is going to be interesting because it is going to go up against, this was from March of 2021. This was an event review, Taste of Epcot International Flower and Garden Festival. I think we just had to round out numbers because I don't remember anything about this one. So I think I just had to round out and get an even 44. So the other one's moving on. I couldn't give you any discernible information about this, except that I'm sure the food was delicious.
Flower and Garden, let's see, 2021.
You're going 2 years back.
Yeah, that's probably when we first got Well, no, that's the art. Never mind. I started to say Stitch.
Yeah.
But
I honestly,
maybe
I don't
not.
know where we stayed. I could go back and look, but I just don't think this one's going to come out on top. So, all right, next we're going to go to a trip. This is episode 302. This is from September of 2020. And this is our resort review of Disney's Animal Kingdom villas over at Kidani Village.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very memorable trip.
Yes, it was.
One woke up one morning to the news that Chadwick Boseman had died.
Yeah, that was super
And-
sad. But we were there. It was really
Yeah,
kind of cool.
I'm laying in bed and I'm scrolling through Twitter and I'm like, wait, what? Because nobody knew that he had
Mhm.
stage 4 cancer. I mean, he
Right.
didn't tell anybody. He was just
Correct.
living with it and doing Marvel movies and visiting kids' hospitals and all. And I just will never forget it. And we went and I had a Black Panther mask and I wore that one for the day.
Mhm.
Also, what makes this super memorable is what else happened while we were there.
Well, it's where we decided, instead of the kids starting school back, that we were going to do the first half
Mm-hmm.
at home. And so the first semester, I believe they call it.
Yeah.
So the kids were signing in at Animal
Yeah,
Kingdom
for their first day
for
of
their
school.
first day of school. So it was really kind of cool. It was neat to be able to do that in September, where we've never been able to do that
Right.
before. And it was just really cool. The kids really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was just the four of us. We had a lot of bread
was.
service from Sanaa to go.
We sure
Because you
did.
could get it to go and bring it back to your
Yep.
room. And I think this was also the trip that we were heading down to the pool there at Kidani. And remember, the cast member took a very small group of us behind the fence,
Oh,
behind
yeah.
the gated area, and gave us like a private little tour.
That was super cool.
And that was really, really cool too. This is going to go up against previously mentioned. It's a really good one. Episode 391, Remy's AP preview, poolside cabana, fireworks cruise, beer garden, Hollywood, Brown Derby. Oh man, I'm sorry, children,
I know.
but that trip
This trip was
so
great.
good. That
Yeah.
fireworks cruise alone
Yeah.
had that entire weekend just unbelievable.
100%.
So, all right, I'm sorry, children. All right, we're gonna go with episode 525, which was spending Christmas at Walt Disney World. I don't even have to look at the other one, but we will. This is actually a pretty good one for it to go against. This is episode 456, 457. These are from April of 2022. This was event review of the Main Street 16, and this was also our anniversary. And Ron and I did Flying Fish. We did Yasake for the first time over there at Disney Springs, the little kind of booth. We did Satali Canteen, Everglades. You got Gideon's.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really really good one to go up. And that was such a wonderful trip. I mean, that was Main Street 16.
Right.
know?
And that was the first
That
one.
was the first one.
No.
Yeah, that was the first
was?
one. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was amazing to see something come together. And I would say that we worked for so long on, but we put it together in like less than 4 months.
Right.
And so to see how well it turned out,
Yep.
I think was just absolutely incredible. And, I'm still talking about that meal at Flying Fish to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Flying Fish comes up so often when I see people asking for recommendations in these Facebook groups. Just did one the other day. Where do I get a great steak? Flying Fish is the best steak I've personally had on property.
So what are you gonna pick?
I Christmas, like, I can't even talk about Christmas. Like, I will cry. Like,
Oh, so I guess Christmas.
It's I'm not getting ahead of myself, but that's going to be a tough one to beat.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
that was absolutely incredible. All right, we are going to move on. This is a really good one as well. This is from August of 2022, episode
The first
485
one.
and 486. It was our first time Fort Wilderness and camper rental adventures, I should say. Ron and I did Hoop-de-Doo review.
Yep.
And then on the way out, Kaylin actually went with her friend to SeaWorld
Yep.
for a day and night. And then she was on an episode to talk about it.
Yep.
SeaWorld
SeaWorld and Aquatica.
This trip was so good.
Yeah, it was.
And Hoop-de-Doo.
Because this was the girls. This is how we always end out the girls' trip for summer. I mean, and we take them usually here because they just love it. And next year they'll be able to drive golf cart themselves because they'll be 16.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one's a good one.
It's a very good one. And this is going up. We have a battle here. This is a good battle because Camper Rental Adventures is going up against Cruise America because this next one is the one that we talked about previously. It was the Father's Day weekend with your brother and his family renting from Cruise America, Fort Wilderness, Boathouse Brunch on Father's Day. So you've got to pit that up against the Fort Wilderness Camper Rental Adventure one.
I would say the Camper Rental Adventure.
I would too.
Just because we allow the girls to each bring a friend.
Yeah.
They have so much fun. Kaylin said the police
That
are
was the
here.
best. Yeah. We're sitting inside eating dinner, and all of a sudden she just flings the door open and she goes, "You got to come outside. The police are here."
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, because we were stupidly unaware.
Yes.
Because we thought that Fort Wilderness was treated the way that golf cart communities used to be treated here in Florida. They changed the law
Correct.
now, where if it was considered a golf cart community, you didn't technically have to have a street legal vehicle. You could, and 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds without a license could drive golf carts throughout the community.
Correct.
So Kaylin and her friends, they're out driving. Security pulled them over, followed them back to the site,
Yep.
sat and chatted with the guy for a long
Yep.
time. He was super
Very
cool.
nice.
Everything was good, but it was just, she flings the door open. You got to get out here. The police are here. Like, okay. So that one is going to move on, even though I did love that Cruise America trip. I mean, I really, really did.
It was a
And
great trip.
we don't get to see your brother and his family often,
Yeah.
especially now that they're traveling the country
Yeah.
as full-time RVers.
Yep.
Which, by the way, Making Memories Outdoors, go look them up on Instagram. It is so much fun to follow. They're seeing the United States like nobody pretty much sees.
Yeah.
I mean, the average person will never get to experience what they're experiencing right now, and their kids, which is really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're going to move on to the next one. We are still going. Boy, we love us some Fort Wilderness. This is most recent episode 590, just from August. This is Fort Wilderness with Camper Rental Adventures. We did the new Trails Inn, the new Crockett's Tavern. We did Grand Flow Cafe for brunch with all our wonderful friends, with Rachel and the Pits. We did Food and Wine. This is a good one. This was fun.
This was. I loved this one. This was with the girls again, ending their trip, and I had so much fun with the kids. We were riding around, and
doing that scavenger hunting,
and then found a boy named Brady.
Oh
and
boy, yep.
It was just because he looked like my Brady that I have a client, and it was just so fun. Like
it was a blast,
This
and
one,
then that Grand Flow brunch with everybody was so good. And then we went on, over to Tambu Lounge with Tay and Steph and hung out with them for a while. And then, we did Nacho Bar Night, and we got to see Jessica and Landon, who came over to visit. Mark and Figgy came over to visit. Daniel and Steve came over to visit. Professor Leisure and Nomad Lounger. That was super fun. It has to go up against... This is episode 497 from 2022, dining review of Topolino's Terrace dinner. This was actually part of a much larger Labor Day / birthday weekend trip for Amy.
Yes.
And this trip was absolutely outstanding. We had 9 of us at that Topolino's dinner back in that like almost private room with Alfred, our cast member.
Oh, yeah. Like
that was a really, really fun trip with a lot of great people. But that's a really hard one.
That's a really hard one.
That's extremely hard. This
great.
is the toughest matchup yet. I can either leave it to you, because I'm good with either one moving forward, or we can flip a coin. I'm almost leaning towards the Amy birthday trip because we have another Fort Wilderness trip that moved on, maybe with the girls and all.
Yeah,
so do you
it
wanna
was
go
a
with that
fun
one?
one, but I think I like the one with Amy.
Okay,
and
let's do
Chuck
that.
and-
All right. Next, we are going to go. Now, this is from October of 2022. This is our return to the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. So same year when we got those comp tickets.
Okay.
This was supposed to be the DizCon weekend that we were going to have a booth at, which got canceled due to the hurricane coming.
Right.
And we ended up still doing the Give Kids the World Epcot after hours party, though.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just tell you right now, it's going to go up against what we previously mentioned is the reopening of Walt Disney World. So this trip was great. Again, Karen and Ashley and Zoe.
Yes, it was.
This is when we split a room with them, shared a
Yep.
room with them. We had a really, really wonderful time, and it was so fun. But the reopening of Disney World still, I feel like is just
You
etched in
still
my
think a
brain.
winner? Okay.
Yeah. I think it still is. It just, I remember being out there, like we saw Lynn that day real quick over in Tomorrowland.
Mhm.
And, yeah, I'm like, I think that one moves on to the next round.
Okay.
You agree? Okay.
Yeah, I'll agree.
All right. Next, we have from December of 2021. This is the Candlelight Processional Coral Reef Dining Package review to go see the voice of Moana herself, whose name I will butcher if I try and say it.
Mm-hmm.
This also, though, was what happened?
What did we eat prior?
Steakhouse 71 for lunch
Okay.
with your parents.
Yes, that's what it was. And then we were supposed to do Coral Reef Dining Package to go see her.
Yeah.
And we were so full. We walked around the World Showcase probably 4 or 5 times, I felt like.
Yeah.
And I was still so full. So we went up to the Coral Reef and basically asked if we could get everything to go.
Yep.
And they said, yeah. And we paid for everything and we took it and I drank soup out of a cup.
This is where soup from a
It
cup was invented.
Freezing.
Yeah.
It was so good. Oh my gosh, the soup. It was a lobster bisque.
Yep.
It was fantastic. Right? Was it lobster or was it tomato?
That one was lobster bisque. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it would
'Cause
become
we've
we'd
done
end
a
up doing tomato
Yeah, we've done
in the future. We haven't had a
So-
to-go soup in a while. We
Yeah.
need to make that happen
Yeah.
here soon.
Maybe from Le Cellier.
Maybe. That would be super
Can you
good.
do that? Can you go and order?
No,
get
no,
it,
you
like-
couldn't just walk up and get it. You'd have to be seated.
You'd have to be
Yeah.
seated and then say,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna
what
eat
that's what we
this,
said.
and
Like when we did that review, like I wish they had a bar
Yeah.
area, even if it was tiny, like Yak and Yeti style or something. It would be amazing. So this is actually going to go up against. This is from just very very recent. This is beginning of August, 2023, and this was Boulder Ridge Villas 2023 opening of Food and Wine, Akershus. We did the Flavors of Florida Chef series, Yak and Yeti for lunch. We did a Geyser Point meetup with Wonderland Crew. We did Cape May Cafe for breakfast, all with
Ooh,
Chuck and Amy.
Yes. This was fantastic.
I mean, this moves
Yeah.
on hands down.
Yeah.
That was such an amazing
100%.
weekend. We had a lot of people. We hung out a lot with Jessica and Landon and got
Mhm.
to know them a lot better, which was super cool. Like that trip was just outstanding.
It was.
And it's most recent in my brain.
Yeah.
Even though that whole coral reef thing was just funny.
It was.
Like, it was just exactly what it was funny. All right. Next up, this was a day trip down for the second day of Roundup Rodeo opening at Disney's Hollywood
Yes.
Studio and Toy Story's Land. This was just back from March of 2023, episode 551.
Okay.
That was
That's
a
right.
very rare down and back day because
It
we don't
was.
tend to do that.
That was crazy.
Yeah,
Because we literally, I was very nervous. We walked around a little bit after.
we did.
And I was nervous we were going to be full and driving back. But everything was great. God,
Yeah.
this was so good.
We
too.
loved this meal, and it's so
It really
crazy because
was.
I still see to this day. I mean, it hadn't been open that long. It's been open several months now, half a year. It is just like 50-50. People
Yeah.
love it or hate it, the food. And I can tell you, we loved it. So this is very unfair to Roundup Rodeo and says nothing about the food there because we absolutely loved it. But this has to go up against the episode 487 and 488 review, which was Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, Coronado Springs Deluxe Resort with Cronus Club with our wonderful friends Ashley and Karen and their daughter
Yeah,
Zoe.
that was
And
so
that,
fun.
hands down, I mean, that one's moving on. That's not even fair to Roundup Rodeo, I don't think at all. All right, next we are going to go to episode 538 and 537 actually as well. This was last year's, or just this past year's, I should say, Main Street 16 Challenge weekend.
Mm-hmm. This one.
I didn't tell you what it's going up
Oh.
against. Okay.
I feel
Okay.
like it was,
Well,
this was so. What's it going up
It
against?
was. This is going up against September of 2021. And this was the dining review at Space 220. And then we did Toledo that night. I don't know that I remember this one specifically. So this was another time we did Space 220. We did this is the actual sit down lunch we did with Kat and Rachel at Space 220. Was the actual sit down with them. And then I believe you and I did Toledo for one of the meals, I guess, that weekend.
Okay.
But I very much remember this now.
That
for the
was really
lunch.
good. But that Main Street 16.
Yeah.
Oh, that was this past year's. We're gearing up for next year's. And it It was so awesome to have so many more people
Mhm.
and such a great team.
Well, what was so cool, I think, about this past year compared to the first year? The first year, we were meeting all these new people.
Right.
You know, they knew us very well because they've been listeners and
Right.
they've been in the groups and stuff. But we got to meet a lot of new people. And then this last year, they're all our friends. Now we
Yeah.
got to meet more people as well, but
we
now
got right.
they were our friends,
Right.
and they'd been our friends for almost a year
Yeah.
or so. You know, so yeah, that weekend was just amazing. I
Yep.
mean, eating a pickle aside, that was one of the best. Those 2 evenings
Those were
alone were some of the
great.
best ever.
Yep.
You know, the night in the bar area with the horse dentist convention.
Oh my God.
and Liv getting up on a chair and telling everyone why we were there, and these guys are just like handing
Here,
out
give
bills
money,
and
yep.
handing her money and like I think Venmoing or something, or going right in and donating, and raising an extra $100 Friday or Thursday night for Tay and I to jump in the pool,
Mhm.
and then the raised $600-700 for me to eat the pickle, and that night just in the lobby of the Wyndham Lake Buena Vista, and everybody's like around after a full day of doing 16 rides.
Yeah.
We're all just had so much energy in us that we couldn't go to bed, and everybody hung out in that lobby forever, and it was just an absolutely
I almost
incredible.
peed my pants watching you eat the pickle
You
because
did
I
almost
was
pee.
laughing.
You did almost pee your
so
pants.
hard. All right. Yeah.
All right.
That one definitely.
Next, we are going up against. This is going to be from episode 404 and episode 405. These are from October in 2021. Now, this was the first time that we did go see Blue October at the House of
Mhm.
Blues with Jody, who came all the way out from Colorado to hang out with us. And you and I did the Brown Derby Lounge, but then we all sat outside at we sat outside Splitsville
Yeah, that was fun.
with Jody and
Yep.
had dinner before the show. That was an awesome weekend.
It was.
I mean,
It was good.
we had seen Blue October once or twice at that point at the at the time it was Eat to the Beat that they were playing prior to the pandemic, and they were just amazing. And I remember just being blown away by them. But to see them finally inside of like a venue
Yeah, that
was
cool.
super duper cool. And that one is going to go up against the this one's going to win. This is episode 557 and the 558. This was the whole Saratoga Springs with all our friends and the 2-bedroom and doing the beer
Yeah.
garden for Blue October. And
Yeah.
you and I rode the float that weekend, even though that was at Universal. So I'm going to have to say we moved that one on, right?
Sure.
Okay. Next is our anniversary trip from 2021 with the Savi and Cinderella's Royal Table and Dapper Day. And that is going to go up against, I put this in here even though it's not Disney World, the Disney Wish, which is episode 501 and
That
502.
was a great trip.
And that is back from October of 2022. That's a really tough one.
That is because there's good memories and there's not so
Yeah.
good memories.
We learned a lot, which was
Mhm.
good. But overall, it was amazing.
It was, but that's where it's hard because I do want to definitely go on another one.
Yeah.
And I think sooner actually rather than later.
Oh, yeah.
And I would like it to be us, and if anybody could join, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
So but I think
it's hard for me not to pick that weekend, though, of our anniversary. It was just you and I.
Yeah.
And Cinderella's Royal Table,
So
and
good.
you
The
spinning
food
around.
was
You
so
bought
good.
Sebastian.
Yep.
To go with your Little Mermaid. You actually bought him in once. It was or the Mickey's little. What is it?
Sire
Mickey's, I think it
or
is.
Sir.
That's Sir. Yeah, right behind
Uh-huh.
Cinderella's Royal Table, and yeah, getting all dressed up and stuff. And I have a video of you somewhere of you twirling as we're heading back out to the buses, and your dress is all twirling
Yeah.
out, and like you just looked absolutely stunning. So I think we're gonna go with that
Thanks.
one.
Okay.
Okay. Next up, here's another one you have not heard of yet. This is going to be a good one, though. This is episode 359. This was from May of 2021, Kat's birthday weekend. We did Tep and Ito. We did Yak and Yeti. That Tep and Ito was so fun.
That was fun.
Jossie was there in spirit on FaceTime.
Yes, she was.
And Michael had ordered the cake and all that
Mhm.
came out, and just it was an absolute blast. And lunch at Yak and Yeti, and like that was a
Nachos.
super fun trip. Yeah. I mean, if we're at Yak and Yeti, we know we're getting the nachos. That has to go up against our Art of Animation one with Kat when she flew down. Oh, that is a very tough one because that
I'd probably
was just
say
so fun.
I know. I'd probably say the other one because it was Michael and everybody. Like,
I know
there
we
was
had
other people.
everybody was with us, so I think we will go with that. But I'm telling you, we have never laughed harder than just sitting in that room on that
I
bed.
know.
And just, I mean, it was the best time. Seriously, Kat, if you were listening, text me if you are laughing right now, because that was so much fun. All right. Next, we are going to go on to one heck of a trip. This is episode 571, 572. This is just back from June of this year. This is when we rented the Beachcomber Shack at Typhoon Lagoon. We went and saw the new live action Little Mermaid.
Oh,
We stayed at
wow.
All Star Music the one night in a family suite. We dined at Splitsville for dinner. We did homecoming brunch. And then we actually moved over to Flamingo Crossing area for the next night. We had Cassidy with us. We had the girls with us. And we went over to Scott and Michelle Atwood's
That's right.
for Memorial Weekend barbecue. And that trip was a lot of fun.
Yeah, because I was with a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
Lucy, Caleb.
Yep. Ashley and Karen. We all did that. Yep.
Chuck
and
and
Chuck and Allie came that
Allie.
evening to do the movie. Rachel was there. Like that was a really short-lived, fun trip.
Yeah.
That has to go up against. Oh, this is so funny how this is happening now. All right, this is opening weekend of Cosmic Rewind, 466 and 467. These are from June of 2022. We did Typhoon Lagoon. We stayed at Port Orleans Riverside with Chuck and Allie and Alex.
Oh,
It was
that's
the
right.
Cosmic Rewind opening weekend.
We got them all every day.
Yeah, we did boat. Yeah, we got them every day, twice every day.
Boat rights was really
Boat
good.
Rights, dining hall for that dinner, Connections Eatery for the first time, which we
and
loved.
Allie and I were looking for seats.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
We did Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar. So that's going up again. Wow, that's a really tough one to pick. I personally think I would go with the most recent Beachcomber Shack and live action Little Mermaid and all, only because I love an opening of a ride, but they're no longer exciting because of the virtual queue.
Yeah.
We will never get the opening of Galaxy's Edge again. We'll never get the opening of Pandora. We'll never get even the opening of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Like,
Yeah.
we'll never get the thrill of getting up at 3 a.m. and getting to a park at 4.
Which is almost kind of nice.
It is.
Not gonna lie.
It is, but I feel like that's been taken away from us. So
Yeah.
that weekend was so much fun. We had a great time. We rode literally twice a day, I think 4 days in a row, because we got virtual queue and bought Lightning Lane like every day.
Yeah.
And it was an absolute blast. But in that short period, I think that was like a 24-hour period that we had this trip where we crammed in all of these things, you know? We crammed in going and spending half a day at a Beachcomber Shack at Typhoon Lagoon.
Oh yeah.
We crammed in a one-night stay in a family suite, seeing the live-action Little Mermaid, dinner at Splitsville, the next day doing brunch at Homecoming before everybody kind of made their separate ways. So I think I would go with that one.
Okay.
Do you agree?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
All right. Next, we have a few new ones that you haven't heard of quite yet. And this is going to be episode 385 and 386. These are from August of 2021. This is when the Halloween party had not come back yet. And they had the Boo Bash
Right.
at Magic Kingdom, which was a very watered down Halloween party.
Yes.
And Rhonda and I dined at the newly reopened and reimagined Citrico's prior.
Mm-hmm.
Giovanni, right?
Yes.
Isn't that our waiter?
Mm-hmm.
And he brought us some complimentary appetizers and
Mhm.
such, and it was so good. And Boo Bash, we enjoyed. A lot of
Yes.
people did not,
Yes.
but we enjoyed it for what it was, and
We did.
and we had a really good trip that time. It was another one of those very short-lived trips. This goes up against Thanksgiving at
Mm.
I mean
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving's gonna win. We're trying to be nice to you there, Boo Bash, but you do not beat Thanksgiving with family. Okay, next, and this is our final little round before we're really getting us down here, and this is going to be the Sangria University at Coronado Springs with our wonderful group, Michael's butt, and then this is gonna go off. This is gonna go up against number 6, which was our most recent anniversary weekend at the Delta Hotels, Orlando, Lake Buena
yeah.
Vista. And we did Behind the Seeds. We dined at Rainforest Cafe for breakfast. We did Narcoossee's for dinner. I don't know why I already forgot what the other one was.
I did too. It's our anniversary.
It was it's 100% our anniversary. That, again, top 5 trip of all time for me. Whether it makes it far or
Right.
whatever, that trip was just absolutely outstanding. And again, it was a lot of you and me,
Yes.
which was just so nice.
Mhm.
And when we say that is nothing against our friends. We love our friends
Oh,
very,
100%.
very much. And we love hanging out with them. But a lot of times, Ron and I don't get to
We
just
don't.
be the two of us. And
No.
sometimes that's really, really nice.
And you know, I'm sure you hear that and you're like, well, you live with each other. And, you know, I work
do.
3 12-hour days. And then on, you know, Thursday when we do go out of town or something, unfortunately is the situation where, you know, we're meeting friends and whatever, which is great and fine. But it is something about just kind of being with Jeremy.
Being the two of us.
Yeah, kind of.
Aw,
So.
so sweet.
Mm.
All right. We're getting into the next round here. And this is going to be episode 435, which was renting DVC at Boardwalk. We did Scats Cat Club. We did The Drawn to Life, Haleo, Birth of Main Street Magic Travel, Captain's Cook, Got Stranded. And this is going up against the trip with Lucy and Caleb doing the staying at the Swan and bar hopping and food and wine and all that kind of wonderful stuff. That's a really tough one to go up against each other, I think. Which would you pick out of those two? That's a really, really tough one. Both of these were with great friends.
yeah.
Like I think
I don't want to say Boardwalk.
the Boardwalk rental. See, I would go the other direction. I think.
Oh.
I think I'd do the Swan with Lucy and Caleb on this one. Just because, again, it almost comes down one of those. It was neat. It was just the four of us for a weekend, you know?
Yeah.
Like when we get to do some of the trips with Rob and Tina, it's like, it's just the four of us,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Like we make a point not to even be like, well, Rhonda has to tell me to make a point to not be like messaging all our local friends and cast members like, hey, are you around? You guys want to hang out? Sometimes you got to be like, no, don't do it. Okay? You're there with Rob and Tina. That's what we're going to enjoy. In this case, Lucy and Caleb. Are we flipping then?
Sure.
On their second flip. All right, heads, and then Drawn to Life, Haleo, and then tails will be the Swan with Lucy and Caleb. It is up to fate, and it is tails. Lucy and Caleb, you move on. All right, next up, we're doing the episode 391 and 393. This was the AP preview, Poolside Cabana, Fireworks Cruise, Beer Garden. Hoo-wee. That is going up against, I already know which one it is without even having to look the number up. And this is very, very unfair, Christmas. I mean, this should be the finals. I mean, if it were up to us,
yeah,
and we literally went through and seeded these from 1 to 44, and again, I didn't think that made sense because that means we automatically picked our favorite by giving it the 1 seed.
correct.
These two probably would have been close to like a 1 and 2 seed, and they would have possibly met in the finals. So Christmas, family,
I'm gonna say Christmas.
Fireworks Cruise with friends. I'm gonna have to go Christmas.
I mean, because we stayed at Coronado.
Yeah.
In the tower.
Yep. We had club access for Christmas. We had
did.
our bedroom, and the girls
was
had that space.
Freezing too.
Oh my goodness!
Freezing. So it was so nice that we had that because
Like
we
literally,
bought-
guys. For anybody that's laughing, going, "Oh, what was it? 60?"
No,
it was
it
in the
was
low
30s.
Yeah, it
Like,
was 30s.
I think that. Yeah.
I think in the
high was
evening
like,
it went below freezing, but the highs.
because a pipe bust. And
Yeah,
Three
pipe
Bridges
burst at
was
Three Bridges.
Closed
Yep.
for
A couple days. Yeah, but like we bought that little tree.
Yeah.
And we brought down lights, and we brought our stockings and little 3M hooks, and we hung up lights, and it's
The
my
girls,
yeah.
the girls had tickets, but at the same time, like I love that it was freezing
Yeah.
because we wanted to also be at the resort.
lunch
So
at
that was
Whispering
super
Canyon
cool.
on Christmas
yeah,
Day.
That was cool.
It's my favorite Christmas ever.
Yeah.
Easily. And that's not, looking down on the other 42 Christmases that I had before this one, but this was hands down the best. And this again, I went back, I remember, and looked, and because the girls weren't pass holders, it had been 13 months since there had been some sort of trip anywhere with just the four of us.
Wow.
And I remember we added on the day not long before to Universal for the night before.
Yes.
Remember? And there was just nothing. There was nothing like it. It's going to be hard to beat. And yeah, I'll never forget the day I was told you were allowed to plan a Christmas away from the house.
Yeah.
I was the next day I was booking. I'd always wanted to spend Christmas at Disney with my family.
It was our Thanksgiving when we were with
full
my
year
parents.
before. So it was 13
Yes.
months before.
Yes.
And I was like, we're doing it. And yeah, I mean, I even remember then that Christmas knowing like this is it. This is, we didn't know what our plan was at the time. But because of family and wanting to be with them on some of these major holidays, we've decided now that we're going to flip flop every year. So, we did Thanksgiving at home that year. We did Christmas away. This year we're going to do Thanksgiving away. We're going to do Christmas at home, and we'll just flip flop every year that way so that, we still get to see family and stuff. All right. Next, we are going to our Fort Wilderness and camper rental adventures. This is the episode 485 and 486. We also did Hoop-de-Doo. This was the first of what would become an annual tradition.
Yep.
And that is going up against our Labor Day weekend trip for Amy's birthday. So that's an interesting one.
That's hard.
I know.
I love those camper rental adventure trips with the girls.
I know. And I mean, I think that would get my pick. Just because, this is another one. I mean, these two are either one can go.
Yeah.
But Hoop-de-Doo was great. I remember taking all the cornbred back to the girls.
Kaylin,
She was so excited.
Yep.
And it was a nice date night for you and I.
It was.
And and it was our first time just staying in a camper like that. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Them bringing their friends. So do you want to move that one on?
I think so.
Okay, we'll move that one on. All right. Next up is going to be our reopening of Walt Disney World versus our Boulder Ridge, our most recent trip with Chuck and Amy to Boulder Ridge and doing flavors of Florida and Yak and Yeti and the Geyser Point meetup, Cape May Cafe breakfast. Like, whew, that's a real tough one too.
Great.
That was absolutely
so
amazing. There was nothing like being back at Disney when it reopened. There was nothing like it at all.
Right.
But there's also nothing like just being with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a wonderful weekend with Chuck and Amy, but we got to see so many other folks as well.
Yes.
Which was cool. And sitting outside, being back at Wilderness Lodge, like sitting outside out of Geyser Point and us all just hanging out. And, that was really, really good. Would you take that over the reopening though? That's the hard part. I mean,
I kind of almost think so.
You think so?
I kind of think so.
I'm good with that. 100%. I'm good with that.
Because April and her whole family was there, which was super cool.
Jessica and Landon came out that evening.
Yep.
Marcy came out with her friend.
That was great.
We had such a good time.
And we were staying there.
Yeah, and we were staying there. That was the best part is we just walked right back to our room, and that 2-bedroom was beautiful.
Oh, yeah. We could have lived there.
Seriously. We did the Anyone Can Cook for Wonderland Crew and did Ronto wraps that one morning. I ran out to the grocery store and that was really, really cool. All right. In our next one here, we are doing our Mickey's Not So Scary, our Coronado Springs Deluxe Suite with Kronos Club, Karen, Ashley, Zoe, and that is going up against the Main Street 16 Challenge weekend from just this past year, the 2023 Challenge weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say that one. Main Street. Sorry.
Yeah, and I'm very sorry, Ashley. We loved that trip so much. We want to do another one with y'all, but Give Kids the World, I think, and raising another $10,000-$11,000 for them, and
actually getting to tour the Give Kids the World.
Yeah,
that hit my heart hard.
Yeah, and we're gonna go see it again.
Yep.
There's gonna be hopefully an opportunity. We're looking at some things that if anybody wants to tour Give Kids the World during the next challenge, we're gonna see if that's a possibility. So all right, we're gonna move that one on. Next up in the next little bracket here, we have the Father's Day weekend at Caribbean Beach Resort with Rob and Tina. And that is going up against the anniversary weekend with Savi's Workshop, Cinderella's Royal Table, and Dapper Day. I'm love
gonna
you.
Say Rob and Tina.
Okay, good. I was going to pick the other one, but I will just do whatever one you said. That's fine too. That was so much fun.
It was.
Here's the thing. We've had lots of anniversaries at Disney that have been incredible.
Yeah.
Other than the first one we spent on our 10th where you broke your kneecap, I think, falling off a bike
I didn't break
at
it.
Fort Wilderness when we had our camper.
Awful.
But we don't get to do these trips like this a lot with Rob and Tina.
No,
and that's the reason it wins.
Yep.
I know that I get a trip with you on Thursday, yesterday at this point.
Woo!
Which do you think we had fun?
Yes.
Do you think club level was worth it at Wilderness Lodge?
I hope so.
I hope it was too. All right, so that one is going to move on. All right, in our next bracket is the Cat Birthday Weekend, Tep and Ito, Yak and Yeti. That was super fun, and that is going up against our most recent here, Beachcomber Shack, Little Mermaid Live, all of that. Ooh, that's a really tough one.
That is. I'm gonna unfortunately have to say, I think
which one?
The new one,
the newest one.
Mm-hmm.
The only only reason I'm going to pick it is because we crammed so much into a 24-hour period that when you look at everything in these titles, you'd be like, well, you guys there like 3 nights or so?
Yeah,
No. We were there for 24 hours and we crammed all that in. So I'm okay that moving on. But plus still have the enough. We have a lot of cat memories.
Yes, we do.
So then Kaylin was there the evening that I got in the hammock then and flipped out, because that had to have been the same evening because just Kat was there.
I think so. I'm trying to remember now, because I think so, because
we would have gotten off the Skyliner and we were heading over to Banana Cabana.
That we were on the ground almost peeing ourselves.
Yeah.
And then because it was cold.
It was cold, and Kat gave me her jacket, and I didn't put my arms through the sleeves, basically. And I went to get in the hammock, and the whole thing flipped over, and they were dying. I ended up buying that long sleeve. I went into the Caribbean Beach gift shop there, and I bought that long sleeve I have with like the tie-dye Mickey on the front. I weren't even on that trip.
Yeah, I sure
All
say
right,
where.
Let's move on next, and we're our Thanksgiving at Fort Wilderness. And you know what I'm just realizing now is that trip inadvertently started our flip-flop of holidays. It wasn't this last year doing Christmas. So in 20
we didn't
in
realize
2021,
it, though.
yeah, we did Thanksgiving away and we did Christmas at home. Then in 2022, we did Thanksgiving at home, Christmas away. Now we're doing Thanksgiving away and Christmas at home again. So that's kind of funny. That is going up against our most recent anniversary trip. And I love your family. That was a wonderful trip, but this anniversary was one of my favorites. It was so good. I feel like it was much needed at the time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yep. And again, Narcoossee's and that dinner was wonderful, and our breakfast, the Animal Kingdom, celebrating the 25th, like that was just absolutely incredible. All right. We are down to our final 8, and we're doing our Swan, Lucy, and Caleb trip versus Christmas. So love you guys. Love you, Lucy and Caleb. All right, we're going to go next. This is going to be our Fort Wilderness, our first Fort Wilderness Camper Rental Adventures trip. And this is versus the most recent trip with Chuck and Amy here, and all our friends and Geyser Point meetup and all that good stuff. So which one would you pick out of those two to take them into the final 4?
I'm going to say the camper.
The camper one? I can agree with that.
Okay.
You know, again, it's just
they went horseback riding.
And you know, we're looking at the end of the life cycle that we get to spend with our kids.
Yeah.
You know,
there's
this
Kaylin's
whole
driving in January.
Yeah. I mean, go out and look at this thing. It's called 18 Summers. And if you're a parent and you don't cry reading this thing, it says you have 18 summers with your kids.
Oh, I'm gonna
and then
cry.
They're gone. And there's some other stats that actually my brother had posted and I can't remember the exact stats, but like in the first 18 years of your child's life, you spend like 75% of the time you're going to spend with them through the rest of their life.
Oh my goodness.
So it front loads everything up front because they live with you. When they move out, you're not seeing them every day.
Right.
You know, you're lucky if you're seeing them every week or every month or wherever they go to. So it's like having that time with the kids, like we're running out of memories. We've got, if you think about it now,
no, don't say we're running out of
but technically
memories.
we have 4 more summers with Kaylin in theory. So think of that. All right, we're going to go.
No.
We're going to go to the other side, and we're doing our Main Street 16 Challenge Weekend, the one we just had, the second annual. And this is going up against our anniversary trip with Savi's Workshop and Cinderella's Royal Table and all that good stuff, which
I'm going to say Main Street.
I will too. Again, we have lots of anniversaries.
Yeah,
you know?
We do.
And I don't think one of them's making the top 4, but
no.
But they've all been incredible trips. Okay, now we're getting to the bottom here. We're doing our whole Beachcomber, Memorial Day weekend, kickoff of summer, family suite, Splitsville, homecoming, all that stuff versus our most recent anniversary trip. Which would you pick? What are you humming for? You're not immediately picking our anniversary trip?
Yeah.
Okay, so you are picking that.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Were you just messing with me, or I just called you out? All right,
no,
Christmas. That's all I have to say. Christmas versus Chuck and Amy are going to yell at me for it because I keep saying verse instead of verses. Christmas trip verse is the camper rental adventure. Which
Ooh.
you have an ew?
That's kind of hard because it's both with family.
Okay. What else? What else?
It's always so fun to see the girls have fun, and I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna
They had
say
fun on Christmas,
Christmas.
I
But
I mean, I think Christmas hands down. All right, next up to get into the finals is our Main Street 16 Challenge Weekend, the second annual, which we just had, versus our anniversary trip. Which are you picking? Friends versus the love of your life is the selection that you have to make.
That's kind of awful. But I mean, I was with you on Main Street 16.
I would pick Main Street 16.
Okay.
Weekend. As wonderful as this anniversary was, and it really, really was.
Yeah.
That was incredible
Yeah.
to see, and this is especially like when you come to that event we did on Friday at Planet Hollywood.
Yes.
And having Scott and Michelle and Mark and Figgy up there and doing that live
That's where
podcast
we
recording
really started
and
becoming I feel like friends with Mark and Figgy.
That is when we started because
right.
We had met Mark.
Michelle
we had
and
met Scott and Michelle. We've been
yeah.
friends with and all.
Yep.
But that was when we first time we got to meet Figgy.
Yep.
And then and that's when we started our friendship with Mark and all. I think we had run into her before at home or something. But so we're down to the finals. This is going to be our favorite trip since the reopening after the pandemic of Walt Disney World. This is Christmas versus the second annual Main Street 16 Challenge Weekend. What are you looking at, Rhonda? Which one would you pick? Because you know my pick.
I know it's going to be Christmas. I almost would pick Main Street.
You would.
Because, I mean, these kids, this is helping kids get their wish and the things, everything, the people, and I don't know. It was fun, but maybe Christmas.
You know what we can do though? It's our show. We can have two. My favorite trip since the reopening was Christmas.
Okay.
Yours can be Main Street 16 Challenge Weekend. And they are both winners. They both move on. They both get a ribbon. I mean,
but if I guess I did have to completely pick, I would say Christmas because it was the four of us.
Yeah.
And that has been.
We continue the cinnamon roll tradition.
Yeah, that was super fun.
You brought that Gaston's roll up into Kronos Club.
Yep. Warmed it up in the microwave that they have.
Yeah. It was amazing. It's just, I mean, I'd venture to say it's my favorite vacation I've ever taken.
Oh.
It was so good.
I mean, even after the years of when the kids were young and
overall.
Okay.
It may not have my favorite just say moments like, Kaylin meeting Mickey for the first time and kissing him on the nose.
Right.
It may not, it may not have those types of moments, but overall from beginning to end and for how long I dreamed of doing that, not just the 13 months that it was planned, long before that. Oh, yeah. I wanted to drag y'all to Disney years and years ago, but you wanted to, and the kids too. I mean, the kids want to wake up in their own home.
Yes.
And this was it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so is Main Street 16 Challenge Weekend. We got another one coming up next
Woo-hoo!
April 2024.
That is
a lot more
amazing.
details are going to be coming out. We had a wonderful meeting with our whole group and I'll call them staff. No, I guess to be called staff, you would get paid. So with our wonderful volunteers.
Yes. Thank y'all.
Yeah. And so, it's going to be super cool this year. It's been super cool the past two, but we're going to step it up a notch. We're going to level up. You can find out more at mainstreet16.com. You can book your room at Malia Orlando Celebration, where is our host hotel this year. There's going to be a Friday night trivia event. More details will come, tickets for that. And go ahead and get your room booked. They're a limited number. We do not want you to miss out on our incredible rate, which starts at $119 a night. And
That's
go ahead
great.
and get it booked, and then keep an eye on mainstreet16.com for all of the future announcements.
And again, thank you guys so much. We wouldn't be here without y'all.
Yeah.
At 600, thank you so much. We appreciate you very much.
We do. This, we've said before, we'd like to think if even no one was listening, we'd still do this podcast, but let's be honest, we wouldn't. So we really appreciate everybody that tunes in every week, twice a week, for 600 episodes. If you have listened to all 600, let us know. because I know there's got to be somebody that was there from
We'll get
day
you-
one
we'll get
or
you
at least
something.
went back. Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, yeah, just, yeah, hit us up if you've listened to all 600, for sure. And let us know maybe what your favorite episode is overall, or, one of the trips or something we went on.
But if you listen to 600, you have to say when you started.
Yes.
Because I know some people started at like 15 and then they went
Yeah,
back,
and they go back and
listened. And so
listen.
they have listened to all
Yeah.
600.
I'd be very interested in who listened
yeah.
to the very first episode when it aired back in August of 2017. I forget where it fit in, and I know it wouldn't have changed the outcome of this, but we forgot it might have been the same weekend as Tepanito was the $48 glass of wine.
Oh yeah, you said that was just
supposed to
go
be part
in
of the
there.
discussion, and then as we got in, I forgot which one it was. I still have the receipt hanging up behind us when Marco talked you into a double $48 glass of wine. But
It was also when I think I just made the decision to stop drinking
to
wine.
stop drinking wine, right? It probably was somewhere after that. But again, thank you all so much for listening. If you want to hear the next 600 episodes, go ahead and subscribe. You get brand new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. Whether you've been there from the beginning or you're a brand new listener, thank you. And we would absolutely love if you could go out and leave us a rating and review.
Because it really does help our show grow.
That's all we've got. We'll see you real soon.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts, Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.